The men in Elaine de Kooning's life. Elaine de Kooning loved being around men. She did have women friends, but men were central to her life, as friends, mentors, or lovers, and sometimes as all three. Elaine married de Kooning, whom everyone called Bill, in 1943. She admired his work from the moment she first stepped into his studio, and throughout her life she would quote his remarks about painting as watchwords for artists. During their early days as a couple, the two of them had to scrounge for money just to eat and pay the rent. He suggested that if she admired his work so much, she would get a job and support him. But she refused, saying that she was an artist too, willing to starve along with him. They were both markedly independent, and their marriage was an open one. Merce Cunningham. Elaine met the dancer and choreographer Merce Cunningham during the summer of 1948, when Bill was teaching at Black Mountain College in Asheville, North Carolina. A former dance student during her teenage years, she took Cunningham's dance class. He and his partner, composer John Cage, cast her in a play as the ingenue. She saved the pretty dress made for her and wore it again when she appeared as a sorceress and maiden in a fanciful film made by another friend, photographer Rudy Burkhart. Buckminster Fuller. The inventor of the geodesic dome was also at Black Mountain College that summer. Elaine initially had her doubts about him. He was a portly, middle-aged fellow, but when he began to speak about geometry in a lecture to the school, she was smitten. She worked on a prototype dome he created with his students and declared that if she had known him earlier in her life, she would have been an engineer rather than an artist. Edwin Denby. Denby, Rudy Burkhart's partner, was a poet and dance critic. Elaine used to come with him to ballet performances. Afterward, while he filed his review at the New York Herald Tribune office, she would write her own practice review, which he would critique. She typed a 20-page essay about the paintings of Stuart Davis, also just for practice, which both Denby and Bill admired. These exercises were good training for Elaine's subsequent storied career as an art reviewer and essayist for Art News. The Stuart Davis piece was so accomplished that it was published in the magazine in 1957. She wrote that a painting by Stuart Davis, with its plain, strong, ready-made colors and sharply cut-out shapes, has somewhat the effect of a good sock on the jaw, sudden, emphatic, and not completely pleasant. Frank O'Hara. When Elaine painted the poet Frank O'Hara, she obliterated his facial features, an odd technique she used in some of her portraits, and claimed that the painting was more Frank than when the face was there. His image was immediately recognizable because of the way he habitually stood, with one hand on his hip and his weight on the opposite leg. In her portraits, Elaine sought to capture a glimpse of her sitter, the flash of recognition of spying a friend walking down the street. John F. Kennedy. Elaine was commissioned to paint President Kennedy's portrait, probably because she was known for her speedy work and the president was famously restless. She drove down to the Winter White House in Palm Beach, Florida in late December 1962. Kennedy was frequently in meetings, so she had limited time to sketch him over just a few days. Back in her New York studio, she wound up painting dozens of portraits of him while trying to come up with the one that would best capture his typical posture and the special quality she saw in his eyes. Thomas Hess. In 1948, Elaine was hired as a freelance reviewer for Art News, the major source of information about contemporary art in America during the 1940s and 50s. She would labor over her 200-word reviews, which involved time-consuming visits to artists' studios, and for which she received just $2 apiece. Hess, who became executive editor of the magazine the following year, was indebted to Elaine's knowledge of just about everyone in the tiny downtown art world. Although both were married, they had a long-running affair.